Welcome to Shine Your Light Conversations, where we meet ordinary women being extraordinary. These are women who are courageous enough to thrive, and in so doing, they shine their light, empowering themselves and inspiring others. I'm Kate Watkinson, your host. A very warm welcome today. I'd love to introduce you to Skye Macfarlane, the alchemist and herbalist that is the brains behind Wild Dispensary that creates plant medicines in Otago, Aotearoa. Welcome, Skye.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Oh, it's so awesome to connect. I am a big fan of the liver bitters, one of your products.
Great.
It's part of my morning routine to take that each day. So it is medicine. It really is medicine. It's been really helpful to me, that one.
It seems to be one of our most popular products, which is a good thing because bitters in general aren't often people's most favourite flavour. So we're very proud of that product.
Yeah, it really has been helpful for me. It's great. Yeah. So Skye, your background is in as a naturopath, a herbalist and an organic grower. So you've got a lot of skills under your belt there. So how do you kind of weave them together to create a synergy, and what's the sort of connection, the thread to?
I guess I never set out to be a naturopath or an organic grower or any of those things. I mean, I guess as a child, I was always a bit fascinated with plants and potions, as most children are. Well, a lot of children, and kind of in trying to find a place where I sit kind of in the world, I kind of went into media or writing or working with people, and what the main sort of thread has been in a lot of the careers that I've done is people and chatting to people and knowledge and education, and I've been very lucky that's kind of been the same thing working through. So when my husband and I went traveling overseas like lots of people do, I came back and did a Bachelor of Natural Medicine in Auckland there, because that was the only place that I could find. There was none in the South Island, and since I've graduated, which was 8 years ago, it popped up on Facebook randomly 8 years ago, and since then I've worked in that education space, so mostly for companies writing bits and pieces, and then and talking with people about plants and products. And then my husband, who grew up on a farm, found our place down in Dunedin. We were in Auckland. He found it on Tradeby, and we moved down when I was pregnant with Fred, and because it had never been really used for anything for years, we were able to kind of get it into bio-grow organic conversion pretty quickly. And Jed, who was a design engineer at Fisher & Paykel, decided that he wanted to grow vegetables and produce and plants organically for our local market, and I wanted to grow herbs. So that's basically how we kind of merged the two. He's very passionate about organics and soil, as a lot of growers are, and I love plants and herbs. And I kind of came at it with a very I only knew plants really as a brown bottle herbalist. Really, they came in the bottles that we used to make up tinctures for clients. I didn't know a lot about growing plants, so I've learned a lot from him. And we grow plants for Wild Dispensary at our place. So your liver bitters that you take in the morning, the globe artichoke and the calendula come from us, and that product. And then we grow the chamomile that goes into the rest and calm. And we're growing other things to kind of try and build up more of what we supply Wild Dispensary to kind of keep it very local. So yeah, so I'm lucky that I get to learn how to do the beginnings of the plant and how to kind of grow it properly here, and then we do the harvest, and then we produce do the production and make it into the products that go out from here into about 50 stores, I think, nationwide, a bit more than that. So yeah, pretty cool.
So do you feel quite, like, is it really empowering and quite enriching seeing that whole process through then? I mean, I imagine it's quite a different experience to to be growing it and then doing the alchemy and then creating a product. I mean, that's cool.
Yeah, and I think because I always knew like plants in that bottle sense, or in a dry sense, like in a tea sense, or in a health food sense, when you go to the health food stores and they'd be in the containers. I have a whole new appreciation for plants and for farmers, and knowing exactly how to, or when to grow, or how to plant, and all those things, because I've never thought about that. And even with, with Jed, with the salad and everything, that there's that process where you're not just thinking about today, you're thinking 6 weeks or 6 months or a year ahead. You've got to be planning and working with the seasons. You're at Mother Nature's mercy with the weather and all those things. So it's a definite learning thing. So the first year we grew chamomile. We grew it in the middle of the market garden, which was not ideal because it's spread absolutely everywhere, because it is a beautiful plant, but it's like a weed. So much to Jed's dismay, it's still everywhere. We weed it out, but it's a lot. We learned pretty quickly that was a stupid idea. So we've moved the herb part of the farm. It's still near the market garden, but it's quite far away from where all the salad and everything is, because he was constantly pulling out chamomile. So yeah, and then things like globe artichoke, it grows really lovely and tall, so we can use it as a bit of a windbreak for some of the smaller like rocket and spinach that he grows. So these things that you kind of learn as you go and plan a garden and things like that. So it's pretty cool being able to see what pops up, and being where we were, like where we are, it's just really random. I have the herb garden, and then just right beside it is this whole wild area of yarrow that is just self-seeded and just randomly looks like I've planted it for a reason. But it's amazing how things just appear. So it's quite cool with the without having a bit of chaos in the gardening. Like it kind of helps. It brings new things. So yeah, so we're pretty lucky, and I definitely am learning lots from Jed in regards to that. Like I said, the seeding and the planting out, and all that stuff, which is not my forte. So yeah.
Yeah, awesome. And do you actually like the sense of doing that physical work and having that connection to the earth?
I do. I'm not like overly, I get it. So I sound like an old woman. I get a very sore back. So then it's one, because I guess I'm not doing it all the time. I'm doing lots of different things. So when I do say the physical work of planting things out or the weeding or that, they're big days. So I do find them a little bit physically taxing, but then it's always really lovely when you look back and go, wow, look what we've done. Like the other week, I pulled out a whole lot of old chamomile plants, and then we weeded and chucked in some new ones. And then, so it's pretty impressive when you can look back and go, look at what we've done today. You get a very instant reward, I think, with kind of, being able to visually see what you've done. Whereas, a lot of the stuff that I do on a day-to-day is computer-based or writing or research or paper and, textbooks. And that's a different type of fatigue, isn't it? You get to the end of the day and you're kind of fatigued from screens and things like that. Whereas, you've done a full day of physical work. It's a much, nicer fatigue, I say, kind of like you feel like more accomplished. I think you've got something to actually show for your work.
I totally agree with it. We've got a farming background, and then I also probably spend quite a bit of time on the computer and writing and things, and they are different energies that you put into that. And even I had the experience recently where my husband was an MC at a wedding, and he's used to doing completely physical work all day, and he was utterly exhausted from being this MC, from holding space. It was a different kind of energy he was using for that. And we had the conversation, because then he sort of had an appreciation for what it might be like to be me when I host retreats and things like that, that a lot of, even that may not be at all physically taxing, to hold space and always be, aware of people's energy and creating safety, and, does require energy as well. So it's really interesting insight. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's a whole new skill set, and I know it is interesting, because I physically wouldn't be able to do what Jed does every day, and I'm pretty sure he would not like to do what I'm doing every day. So I think that's lovely when you can have an appreciation for where each other sits. Absolutely. So can you tell us a little bit about Wild Dispensary? Why did you go with Wild and Dispensary? What's the story behind the brand?
Yeah, so I came on board. So they Wild Dispensary started as a group of 5, and they were friends, and they wanted to use what I mean. They were, you know, a lot of them were trampers and out in the outdoors, and they wanted to use what was out and kind of freely growing wild, and make a product that their children would take for health, because you know there's a lot of herbal products out there, but their kids in particular didn't really like the options. So they got together and created the brand and started it, and they started at the farmers market, and they were in a few stores, you know, starting out trying to get into retail, which was cool. And then I came on board, and we looked at the range, and tweaked a few things, and changed, took sugar out of the formulas, because you know originally there was syrups, and then I've added new products that we see kind of like for needs that pop up in our community, or kind of health concerns that I kind of see around and think, you know, can we help with that? Is there a plant or an easier way to kind of work with to help support families? So that's where I kind of came on board. And I think, so there's Ruth, Jed, and I, and Bridie. So we've got 4 of us, and then we have Sarah, who helps at the markets. So yeah, so I think that the whole premise of kind of Wild Dispensary is in pretty much all of our products, we use something that's grown wild. So it's that foraging, it's that wild harvesting element that we're kind of using and utilizing things that people deem as weeds, or in some cases, you know, they're like, why would you use this? It grows, you know, it's annoying, but we're like, no, it's got therapeutic value. And we really want to make products that are from here. So, you know, they're from Dunedin, they're from Central Otago, they're from New Zealand, for our community, and for you know, for New Zealanders. Because a lot of other companies import their kind of raw ingredients. So they're not necessarily from New Zealand. And more often than not, it's dried, and we kind of specialize in fresh plant tinctures and using the plant as fresh as possible. So that's a large part of what I love about this company, is that we are using the plant, utilizing and picking the plant, and making it into something really quickly, to get it to people that need it in the most freshest way possible. So, and it's literally pretty close to where we live. You know, we're very lucky with the abundance of herbs and plants that we can utilize.
So it's a really pure product, isn't it? With
yeah,
you know, really
we try
high...
really hard to use. If it's not wild harvested, it's organic. So you know, there'll be some things that we do import, which we have to, which are spices, like say cinnamon or star anise, you know, because they don't grow here. But we, you know, for our anti-flam, we use fresh New Zealand turmeric from Tauranga. So you know, we're trying where possible to use as much local produce as we can. So we support, I mean, they, you know, offshoot of supporting us as organic farmers, is with you buying the herbs from us, but we also buy herbs and plants from Otago Farmers Market and other small organic farmers as well. So, you know, it's great to be able to support people in their passion, and especially organics where possible.
That's really awesome. So do you think, is there any connection between people from a certain place probably innately requiring plants from that place rather than other place? Do you know what I'm saying? Like if we...
Yeah, no, I do. And a lot of herbalists talk about that. They kind of say that, you know, the plants that grow around you are the plants that are meant for you. So, you know, like while we have this overarching Western herbal culture or Western herbal medicine, which is, you know, I was trained in Western herbal medicine, so that basically comes from Europe. You know, a lot of the knowledge are plants that are European, and I mean they're plants that grow here too, you know, like chamomile and all those sorts of things. Those plants we know here, and they do grow here, but with that, there are plants that say herbalists have been taught that aren't necessarily that easy to locate if you're say in Dunedin or potentially Auckland or Christchurch or whatever, you know, in New Zealand. So being able to utilize what is around us, one is, I mean, it's more sustainable. You don't have to travel. It's what is there, and then it can become part of your lifestyle or part of just what you go to when you need. So like in Europe, I know that herbal medicine is much more cemented in their kind of medical system. So, you know, a lot of people, their first port of call would be herbal, like a herbal tea or a herbal remedy that they can get quite easily at the pharmacy before, say, they would go to pharmaceuticals. So we don't have that culture so much here. And we have a strange relationship with natural medicine where it's either highly dangerous or completely placebo and it's not going to do anything and a waste of money. So we have this distrust, I think, of natural health. But really, when you kind of boil it down, it's what people did back in the day. It's a traditional way of supporting health. So you know, be it teas or you know, and as things kind of progressed through the years, you know, then there were tinctures with alcohol extracts or glycetracts or vinegars or things like that. We had different mediums to extract active constituents from plants, but plants were always used for medicine. So, and those plants, obviously, back in the day, they weren't posted to people or like, you know, they were literally foraged around where those people lived. So it makes logical sense that you use the plants that are around you, if that makes sense to you. Yeah.
And I'm just thinking, I've had two conversations recently with an elderly man and an elderly woman, actually, who both talked to me about, they both grew up, one grew up near Paradise, so round from Glenorchy, Queenstown, and one was in a very isolated farming area, and they literally said they weren't anywhere near shops at all. So the plants were their medicine, like they foraged for everything, and all of their well-being needs were taken care of from what nature provided around them, because it was necessity, and they were very tuned into that. They knew what plants could help them because they were living that life. Yeah,
exactly. And I'm not saying, you know, like, I mean, I would say I would be a very pragmatic naturopath. You know, I'm very much you know, natural health alongside conventional medicine. You know, I think that where we could do better is that, you know, we could often probably look to support our health a little bit more efficiently in that first sign of sickness, or you know, when things are a little bit going a little bit haywire with natural health, and then we can go to, you know, looking at pharmaceuticals or conventional medicine for when we need extra support. So it's kind of working with, you know, with that knowledge. It's not one or the other. Like, I'm certainly not one or the other, you know, like I'm very much together. You know, I will take Panadol if I need to, or, you know, give Fred Pamol if that's what the situation requires. I'm not going to not use what we've got at our disposal, but I also think that when you're using natural health, you've got more of a chance to be more self-aware, you know, particularly say with skin, like if we're using herbs to help with rashes or itchy skin or something, it's giving you a chance each day to kind of put that on your skin and go, hey, what's happening? Is there any change? Has it reduced redness? You know, it's giving you that time to actually be aware of your body and aware of what's going on. And then you will have more knowledge going forward. Like, you know, like, oh, let's say you've made a cream up with chickweed, you know, so chickweed is a plant that grows crazy. So most people can find it, it's a weed. And if you're putting it in a cream or an oil, it's going to help with, you know, itchiness or all of those kind of angry sort of skin things. And if you're putting that on and it clears it, that's perfect. And then the next time maybe the skin thing comes back up, you go, sweet, I'll use that chickweed thing, and it doesn't clear it, then you've got some information to go, okay, something's different than before. So it's giving people a chance to actually be aware of what's going on in their body and their own health. So because a lot of the times, you know, if something pops up, we chuck a steroid cream on it, it goes away. We have no idea. Like, you know, we don't know what that's from or any of that sort of stuff. We haven't had a chance to check in and check. So kind of go, is this new? What have I done recently? You know, is this related to something I've eaten or any of that sort of stuff? So I think with natural health, it's kind of being your own detective and kind of looking at yourself in a different way. But it does give you different options, if that makes sense. So it's not just one size fits all, because absolutely we're all so different. We all metabolize things differently. When, like, if you and I both go to the doctor and we both say we've got migraines, we'll be given the same pharmaceutical, like the same medication. We have no idea how, we're not going to react the same because we're just not the same. So, with herbal medicine, it kind of gives you an option to adjust things. You can go, okay, I'm actually, if I take a herbal tincture, it really will knock me out, or I will feel a bit unwell, or whatever, I don't need that higher dose, we can change it. Or, we can move with maybe, some people do better with flower essences than they do with herbal medicine. So it's kind of working with what works with the person, which I think is the beauty of natural health, is actually having that time and space to chat with people and actually talk about what's going on, which is hugely part of that therapeutic relationship. And also being able to adjust to kind of be a little bit more, it was entirely individualized. So but it also means that we can adjust things more efficiently because that formula was already for you. So then we just adjust dosages, or we adjust strengths. So, it just means it's more about what's going on for that whole person, opposed to just that itchy skin, if that makes sense. It's not Absolutely. Just symptoms.
Yeah, a couple of things you said really resonate with me. I think the first is having that awareness. Like I often witness in the woman that I work with that, say, for example, if we take the breath, if you're not aware of the breath at all, you can't change something you're not aware of. So say if you start to have an awareness, and then the awareness tells you, actually, I'm breathing in my mouth, I'm breathing really shallow, and then you have some knowledge to be able to change that and breathe in a way that better serves you. And so awareness to me is critical, and I think body awareness is so important to our health. So like you say, if you're just kind of numbing yourself out with, say, something pharmaceutical, and you haven't really asked any of those questions or really tuned into, so perhaps the thing on your skin is actually from something happening internal, but you're just shoving something on, then you haven't really tuned into what's happening. And I know for me, at a personal level, over the years, I've so much of the healing that's happened in my body with anything that's come up over time has happened in having those nice, slow conversations with a natural practitioner who has really seen me and heard me and given me space, rather than so this is not at all to criticize a public system, but I just know for me that it's amazing how much just being seen and heard and a bit more space even can help a situation that in itself is so powerful.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
and I feel a bit sad for the doctors and general practitioners, because that's not their fault that they, it's the system, like they're in a system where 15 minutes, you can only bring one thing that's wrong with you, and that's it. They don't have that space, and they don't have that time to sit with people. Some do, some are amazing, but they, we've got a doctor in Port Chalmers, I absolutely adore him, and if he leaves, I'll be very upset, but he just does not care about the time limits on appointments. He will want to know what's going on, and he will try and get to the root cause. But part of that is having kind of the space to stand up and say, this is how I'm going to do things differently. But you also see that as the years go on, a lot of them can't maintain that fire or that energy to keep kind of driving for their patients in that space or descent. So I feel very sorry for them, and also the expectations on doctors as well, because with the internet and everybody kind of Dr. Google and learning things and natural health and all that stuff online, people are expecting a lot more of doctors, and this is not the space that they're trained in. They're trained in symptoms, they're trained in medication, and they're trained in diagnosis. So that's their space. So like if you're like, I've got headaches, and they're like, great, we can give you something that will stop those headaches, stop that symptom, maybe look outside and go, look, it's not a brain tumor, we're okay, it's just, this is what it is. But they're not trained in talking to you about, not always, some are, talking to you about mindfulness or, stretching or exercising or magnesium, all those things that as a natural health practitioner, you've got more space to talk about, because we're not just talking about headaches, we're talking about the whole person. So it is really difficult, and it is hard too, with a lot of people coming with different expectations too to practitioners. And I think, you know, with the rise of the internet knowledge and things like that too, a lot of people, that's where natural health can be a little bit problematic, is because people will read something and go, oh, I should take this, or I should take this. Or if they go into, say, one of the new sort of chemists that are around, like the big warehousey chemists, and they can self-select any of these natural health supplements with no thought about interactions or contraindications or any of that stuff. There's no one overseeing what you're taking, so it's a different space too. So yeah, it's a very interesting time to be a practitioner, or, you know, in this space, because while it's really popular and it seems to be everywhere, there's a lack of supervision or a lack of knowledge for some people that does make it a little concerning, especially for older people, and especially for people that are on medication or have underlying health conditions. It can be like quite worrying.
So Wild Dispensary really has quite a strong ethos around environmental and social responsibility. Can you share with us about that?
Yeah, that's what I really love about Wild Dispensary. So they when I came on board, they explained to me, in particular Ruth, and Ruth's amazing. She knows so much. What labels, which is really important too. It does cost more, but it's really important to us as a company that we're doing as much as we can, and all of the plant material that we use is obviously composted as well, so it gets returned back. So we are very mindful where we wild harvest, and we never take, you know, we only take a third, or if even less, and a lot of the stuff that we do use, it's prolific, so that's great. And yeah, wherever we can, we're trying to minimize our effect, like our kind of footprint, if that makes sense.
Yeah, fantastic. So for you, on a personal level, how do you feel that you really shine your light in your day-to-day life?
What do I enjoy doing, or what kind of?
Yeah, well, what really lights you up and gives you pleasure, and how, so for yourself, and also how you sense that radiates out to others.
Okay, I think it's taken me a very long time to, so a lot of the roles that I had been in previously, you know, had a title, you know, I was like national trainer, or, you know, there was a title to the role. And I think when I kind of went out on my own and then came in with Wild Dispensary, what I've realized is that, I mean, there's this need to kind of put people in, there seems to be a need for people to put people in boxes or give them labels or titles or things like that. And once I kind of realized I don't need that, like what do I like doing, and what do I want to do? And what I like doing is talking to people, chatting to people in a really casual sort of way, about plants, about health, about things that are really easy for people to do. I did some papers in public health last year, and a large part of what I struggle with as, say, natural health is access and equity for people that don't necessarily can't necessarily afford natural health, because of course it's not subsidized. So when we're talking about, say, foraging or using weeds, or making your own products to support your own health and your family's health, that's really big for me, because I really want to be able to pass that knowledge on at the lowest cost possible, if not free, so people can have a little bit more kind of ownership of their health, and not have to think, you know, or rely on having to have money to buy stuff, or you know, to you know, go see the pharmacist or anything like that. I want people to be able to recognize a few things that they can do at home for themselves, really low cost. And I think for me, I think this, I'm been very lucky that this role has given me that opportunity. So we do workshops where we teach people how to make stuff, and we give the money to the door entry to the wildlife hospital. So that's really awesome. So for me, I really enjoy chatting to people. I'm not so great in clinic. That's not something that I enjoyed so much, because I didn't have that space to really take on everybody's kind of health histories and cases. But I really do love just kind of talking to people about simple things they can do in their everyday, and being able to just show them plants and how to use plants. That's what I really enjoy. And also kids are really great. Like my son, I'm trying to I do quizzes on him, poor kid. When we were kind of around the farm, I'll be like, what's yarrow good for? And he'll rattle it off. So, they're really, because they like making potions. What kid doesn't like making random potions? So I really love how open kids are. So I get to kind of chat to them too, which is awesome.
It's so beautiful. It's lovely. Cool. Hey, so if I ask you some questions, leading questions, and you can finish off the sentence for me. My
Sure.
soul is happiest
when I'm at the sea.
I'm a
I
sea
love the
girl
sea.
too.
Yeah,
that's my calling.
I love Central Otago, but I go there and I'm like, but you can't see any water. I don't understand. There is no sea. I'm always by the sea.
To get in the sea as well. I totally get that.
Yeah.
Women are
amazing.
Exclamation
I'm lucky
mark.
that I'm surrounded. Yeah, definitely. I know a lot of lovely, strong women, and I'm constantly amazed by them.
And resilience is?
Oh, resilience is the current time that we're living, isn't it? Like resilience is hard. It's hard. I feel like at the moment we're all trying to do the best we can, and it takes a lot of work. So yeah. So sometimes resilience is being kind to yourself, not doing anything.
Yeah, absolutely. And when I asked you what your favorite Shine Your Light card was, do you remember what that was? I have got it here. Yeah. There is a
Leonard Cohen
thing. That's how the light gets in.
Yes. My brother dearly loves Leonard Cohen, and I went to Leonard Cohen's concert with him in Auckland, and it was a privilege because I make fun of my brother. He's 2 years younger than me, and he listens to very depressing music, or mostly like Leonard Cohen era music. But it was an amazing concert, and I do love that because it's entirely true. Because not all moments, with all moments, obviously it can feel very dark and very hard at the time, but there'll be something. There'll be always something that kind of will let the light shine in. So yeah, I do love that quote.
Yeah, that's so true. I was just connecting with a woman recently who was sharing with me. She had some very traumatic news that she received recently, but she said for a few days she was quite in the thick of the sludge, but she said every single day there was she'd noticed something. So one day it was a fantail that flew by her, and one day it was the rainbow in the sky, and she said there was always a little bit of light in amongst that sludge that she just knew even though everything was hard, she could keep going. Which is lovely, eh? I know it doesn't feel like it some days, but I'm sure there's always something. And sometimes it's just the awareness of it, isn't it, to be open to noticing.
It's true.
Is there anything else you'd like to finish off with? Any gems?
No, I mean, no gems. No, I mean, it's been lovely chatting, and we're always open to, and especially me, if anyone wants to know anything, please just send me an email or whatever. I always love chatting about plants and potions. But yeah, we truly do appreciative of everybody's support of using our products, because it's a very small operation, and the bottle that you get at the end has been literally touched by all of us in a variety of ways, with the hand harvesting and the making, and we're involved in every process. So it's a labor of love from all of us.
Yeah, and I feel that energetically that comes through. Like when I have my bitters each morning, I feel like I'm part of a wider story. I actually
that's awesome.
I do have that sense that I can feel that the plants have been grown in nature, and all that's involved, and the people, the hands that have touched them, and the love that's gone in, the magic that's gone into making it. So it really is quite a sacred process.
And I think we're lucky to be one of very few companies that would be able to say that we're involved in the whole process. So it's a real privilege for us, to be able to do that, and to know that people are trusting us and their children and their families' health with our products. It's we don't take that lightly. Everything we do, we try and do at our, we do at our very best. And when we're creating a new product or thinking we're not just doing it just because, there has to be a real reason as to why we would bring another thing into the world. So yeah, there's a lot of thought and a lot of care that goes into our range. And yeah, it's an awesome place to work, and I'm very grateful to be a part of it. So yeah.
Well, thank you, Skye, for your time today and for sharing the magic that is Wild Dispensary and shining your light out into the world. Yeah, have a lovely afternoon.
I will.